All right, kicking it old school with Andy Mack. Andy to my left, and I got to say, that sweatshirt on you, that sweatshirt looks incredible. I love that. You got the Running Man on there. I mean, tell us a little bit about that, Andy.
I'm embracing my label that you've hung on me, old school Andy Mack. I'm going to go way back to the days, the halcyon days, the golden age of Xavier basketball. I'm talking late 80s to mid 80s to early 90s. Bob Stack, Pete Gillen. This is the logo, the Running Man. It's a little crude. Somebody drew it on the back of an envelope, but they adapted it.
It looks great.
I think Xavier present day, Team 96 is trying to incorporate this Running Man logo because the fans love it, and it's going to sell a lot of gear. I think so. Old school Andy Mack. I'm definitely. I'm trying to get in an old school siege mentality mindset with this huge Wisconsin Gavitt Games tip-off event coming up on Thursday because we want revenge based on what happened 2 years ago in St. Louis that set up 66-63 loss to the Wisconsin Badgers. And I think the Muskies need to perpetuate revenge on the floor at the Kohl Center on Thursday.
I agree with you on that, and I love how you embody this segment. You truly embody this segment, and that sweatshirt, I mean, you're doing it right today.
I am one with the kicking it old school with Andy Mack. I am one. I am merged. And I do have a little issue, though, with the video open. Andy Mack looks old school.
Guys,
he looks like Quasimodo from
I think you look great.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
It looks like you own
Guys,
that.
Andy's not happy with it, though.
It looks like you own the arena.
It's sort of like, come into my house. Come on in, darling. I have some candy for you.
Well, now we have to leave it for this week.
My wife is killing me.
We'll leave it for this week,
We
and
have
then
to
we'll
now.
get it corrected.
My wife says you look like an old cripple.
I think we might take that sound bite that you just did and put it underneath when you walk in. Then that would be great.
Here, kitty. We'll say that December 2nd to the Bearcat. Here, kitty, come into our house. We've darkened things up. We're going to pounce on you. We're going to eat you neck first.
Yeah, the new Cintas looks great. Greg, Nick, you guys have been there a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the new facility,
It looks amazing.
not a new facility, but
It looks like
what
a
they've
new
done,
facility.
it looks awesome.
It looks
what
great.
they've done with the lighting and the paint job is just, I mean, it's made a huge difference.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
blue paint looks
also helps
so
that-
much better.
Also helps that Xavier looks pretty damn good too.
Xavier got the corner on navy blue paint. There was a wreck on the interstate. A huge 18-wheeler turned over with nothing but blue paint, and Xavier went in and bought it at a low price, and they've slapped it all over the walls, made that place look dark. They go with that stage lighting, pouring all the light on the floor. It looks like a prize fight. That is a dramatic arena.
It is.
The old Cintas Center was a beautiful gymnasium. This is a dramatic arena, and I think that with the way this team plays, this is the ultimate home court advantage.
And Andy, before we get to how good the Musketeers are looking right now, and I know you're excited about that, I want to talk about something that Dick Vitale, one of your favorite announcers, said last night. This was during the Kentucky-Kansas game that went on last night. In the first half of that game, he decided to rank all of the conferences. He placed Big East as the fourth best conference in college basketball this year. Andy, your thoughts?
I think first off, you got to consider that Dickie V is like pushing 80 years old. 1. 2, he has one eye. Now he has the eye he has is a good eye, but he does have one eye. And thirdly, consider where his paycheck comes from. It is the worldwide leader, ESPN, and they carry games, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and they have no exposure at all to the Big East because that's a Fox deal. So Dickie V, I love him. I worked with him a couple games. He stole all my notes. He was very clever to pump me and sort of rip me of all my preparation to make himself look good. But he doesn't know what he's talking about. The Big East is the number 2 league in NCAA Division I basketball right after the Big 12.
ACC? ACC's
third.
Okay, ACC's third. All right, so we've dispelled that from Dick Vitale. Now we're going to move on to the Musketeers. Look good, 2-0. I mean, offensively, I think is where I go right away. I mean, this team is very, very impressive on the offensive end. Initial thoughts, especially on that side of the ball.
As I told you, both the veteran key players, Trayvon Blewett and J.P. McCure, they didn't look injured to me in those first two games. Trayvon is scoring at an incredibly efficient rate, like 1 point per minute played. And you were a great shooter. You still are a great shooter. He's in the zone now. I mean, the shot comes off his hands so easily. The rotation's perfect. He's very confident. If he stays healthy, he could average 25, even with a ball-sharing, very unselfish group.
Well, and each year that Trayvon's played, it seems like his progress goes up and up and up and up. And I really didn't think from last year to this year there was really that much improvement, based on what he did the last half of the year. But seeing what I've seen in the first two games, and I know that it's not elite level competition, but the way that he's shooting the ball and he's getting off the floor, I mean, he looks more improved, looks like a better player than what he was at the end of last year.
I would agree. His trajectory has been typical 4-year Xavier player. It's just been up the hill. He's in better shape than ever. He's attacking the basket off the dribble. And he's always been a pretty good rebounder and a good defender for his size in terms of his ability to cancel out a bigger player. He gets that, his butt is not as big as it used to be, but it's still, fairly significant. He boxes out well. I mean, Trayvon's playing at a super high level. J.P. McCure is just, he's shed the T-shirt to show the guns, and he wants to play pro basketball at a high level. He'll give it a shot at the NBA. It may not work, although he's starting to remind me a little bit of Wally Zerbiak and Thunder Dan Marley. I mean, maybe not quite that big, but JP has a motor that it's like a Ferrari. It runs at warp speed. He'll do anything to win.
Oh, and being at the game on the other night on Monday, I think JP is the one that physically, looks like the most changed player to me when you see him on the court. He looks a little bit leaner, thinner, but strong. I thought last year he was maybe 5 pounds too heavy. I think it looks like he's trimmed down a little bit, but he's still got the same muscle. I mean, he looks really good. He looks quicker. He looks faster. And I think his cardio will greatly improve this year. He won't get tired at the end of games.
And I think mentally, JP, though, is right where he should be. He's totally focused. He's a junkyard dog. He's Dennis the Menace. He is strictly. He's a basketball player. The mindset is win.
Well, so those two guys, those are the bread and butter for Xavier. The two seniors, they're going to lead Xavier, and they've showed it in those first two games. Outside of those two guys, let's go to the bigs first. We're thinking the three-headed monster of bigs right now. It's been more Tyreek Jones than anybody else. I mean, where do we go with Sean O'Mara on all this?
Actually, I thought that O'Mara in the Ryder game played much better. The officials were brutal. He fouled out. He only played 11 minutes, scored 6, had 6 rebounds, showed signs of the Sean O'Mara we saw with that successful run in the NCAA tournament. And some of the calls against Sean O'Mara, it's like reverse racism. He's a big white guy. They bounce. The little guys go into the lane and they bounce off. Don't officials understand physics? I really little guards go blip blip blip, and they feel like they feel sympathy for these puny little guards. Sean's just standing there doing his job, walling up, and they bounce off and they call a foul on Sean. It's dumb.
He's definitely been on the bad side of the whistle so far to start the year, and I don't think it'll get better on Thursday, being that they're going to have Big Ten refs there.
Don't get me going on the officiating crew. I found out with my deep research that the contract for the Gavitt games reads Big Ten officials in Big Ten arenas, so it'll be 8-on-5, 3 Big Ten zebras up there at the Kohl Center, and we all know what that means. Xavier's going to have to be 12 to 15 points better just to break even with the Wisconsin Badgers, and they are. I really think Xavier is going to win this ball game, and they come in as the rated team with more experience, and throw the officials out there. That's fine. I'm sure they'll try to do a representative job, but they will be. They do know what it says Big Ten at the bottom of their paychecks, and let's get the good ratings so we can officiate in the NCAA tournament and that type of thing. And I'm sure it's above board, whatever. But human nature is human nature.
Yep. That game Thursday, it's going to be a great game. We'll get to Wisconsin here later. I want
Sorry, I jumped you.
Yeah, I know. We jumped.
Tyreek, we got to talk about Tyreek Jones. Big number 0. Here's the guy who's made a quantum leap. I mean, he played well at the end of last year. He personally put his stamp of rejection on the Florida State Seminoles and their supposed inside dominance. Tyreek took that right away early and ripped them right out of the game. And he has gotten better physically. He looks like a total dominating player. His numbers, certainly against the Lilliputians in Morehead State and Ryder, I mean, they're not bad, but they're not, physically, they're not imposing. Tyreek is, and he's got his minutes up to the mid-20s, just where the coaches want it.
Well, he seems like a guy that you enjoy playing with. I mean, he looks like he enjoys playing the game. I think that's the biggest difference right now between him and Omer. And I know Omer has been in foul trouble, but Tyreek looks like he loves to play right now. I mean, he makes a dunk. He's smiling all the way down the court. He's been a tone setter for the team in the first 2 games. Wisconsin's going to be a massive, massive test, but in those first 2 games, I love his energy and how he's getting after it. Another guy that I've loved early, Kaiser Gates, his shot looks something special right now. He's quick trigger, big size. I mean, he's really been filling it up, and he adds another element to this team.
And this is Kaiser Gates here. He's 6'8". He's up to 230. He had a healthy off season, so he was in the weight room doing the training and very confident in his shot. Chris Mack has said all along he's my second best shooter behind Trayvon Blewett, and I believe it. I mean, he's very confident in taking that 3 ball if they play off him, and he can post up too. And I think defensively, Kaiser Gates can guard a 3 or guard a 4. He has really rapid acceleration. He's willing to get his body involved, and I think defensively he's got to be a nightmare for Wisconsin or anybody else to guard. He could be a really good player.
Yeah, Xavier has a lot of length, a lot of size. Another guy that adds length is Najee Marshall, the freshman. Him and Scruggs have looked good. A lot bigger challenge going on the road on Thursday, but Najee Marshall, to me especially, kind of looks like he's going to be able to give Xavier minutes right away.
Apparently, Najee has a little bit of a tight back issue right now, but it's nothing serious. The way he plays, both he and Scruggs have come out and played at the D1 level physically and mentally. They seem to be they're thriving on the experience. They're not intimidated. Of course, they haven't played a top-level D1 team. That'll change on Thursday against the Wisconsin Badgers in Madison, but that's my only question going into that Wisconsin game. The key backups are obviously Sean O'Mara coming off the bench, but Najee Marshall is probably right now technically the 6th man, and then Scruggs is a very key, number 1 backcourt sub, and Elias Harden. Here's a guy who doesn't look like he's a stud physically. He is quick. He's willing to attack the basket. Has a sweet shooting stroke. I think he could be a help even in Big East competition.
So far, it's been all good for the Musketeers. Let's talk about a former player that was in the building on Monday night. He got a great ovation from the crowd. That's Edmond Sumner, a guy that we were hoping would be able to play more games than what he did due to injury. But, Andy, I know you have an update on him.
Yeah, Edmond has not been cleared for full contact practice so far. He's been with the Indiana Pacers. He signed a contract. He was a second-round draft choice, but apparently he will be cleared sometime in the month of December. I would expect that the Pacers will send him to the NBA G League. It's not the D League, it's the G League, because Gatorade laid down a lot of money to sponsor the entire league. So I think Edmond will not go directly onto the Pacers roster. I would not suspect he'll go to the G League and continue his rehab and development, and hopefully he'll get to play in the NBA.
Yeah, and we all wish him the best of luck. Edmond's a great kid. He did a great job at Xavier, ultra-talented point guard, smooth player, elite athleticism. He'll be fine once he gets healthy. On the recruiting trail as well, Andy, Xavier did get a recruit from Huntington Prep. Any info on him?
Yeah, his name is Dontarius James, 6'7", 215. He's from South Carolina. He's playing a graduate year at Huntington Prep in West Virginia. And just the other day, they had a triple overtime win against Hargrave Military, which is Najee Marshall's school and David West's school, and Jordan Crawford came from there, Stanley Burrell. So, and James dropped 21 in a triple overtime, typical high prep school league game. It was 115-113. That was the final. And talk about the Huntington Prep. There are a few names that may ring a bell that have come out of this operation. Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins played there. Thomas Bryant from Indiana. Josh Perkins, the guard who killed us from Gonzaga. He's a Huntington Prep guy. And Michigan State University, Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges,
that's a good one.
Yeah, Miles Bridges is decent.
He's
all right.
Dontarius James doesn't have a whole lot of stars. He's not whatever. He's a late bloomer. Travis Steele spotted him. Good sign.
Well, if he's an assistant coach, Travis Steele special, and he's got to be a good player. Trav only has an eye for good players. That's why he picked me up when I was in high school.
Obviously, you're a key example of the incredible basketball genius of Travis Steele. And Chris Mack used to stop by and see you when you were a cashier at the Christmas store.
When I was selling custom ornaments.
The year-round Christmas store?
Yeah, and I'll have to shout out Browners and Frankenmuth. Yes, you can get custom ornaments. All you have to do is when you walk in at that main lobby, turn over to the right. You can get anything that you want. I would say give yourself 2-3 hours, and those elves in the back, they will have it ready for you, and very cost-effective. So,
were you the little elf in the back making them, or how's this work?
No, I wasn't. I did essentially a story on the store, and so I went back and just I got a clean look at it. And Andy, maybe I'll get you a Running Man ornament. I think you'd appreciate that, wouldn't you?
That would be really heartfelt. That would be very warm and fuzzy for the holiday season. And a little-known story about Brad: he is the voice of one of the Keebler elves in that cookie commercial. Really? Yeah.
Well,
and Chris Mack has shared this with me. Chris thinks that his discovery, along with Travis Steele, of Brad Redford in that far-flung geographical Icelandic condition up there in Frankenmuth, Michigan, is a lot akin to whoever that NFL scout who found that quarterback at the quarterback for the Rams.
Jared Goff.
No. The older guy.
Kurt Warner?
Kurt Warner was working at like a dollar store, and somebody came in and grabbed him. This is sort of like the basketball version of
very
that story.
similar. Very similar. Yeah. Actually, Coach Mack picked me right out of the cornfield on my way to Browners, so I thank him for doing that. I love Cincinnati.
And the rest is history.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Xavier, they get their first test at in Madison, Wisconsin, against the Badgers, a perennial, consistent Big Ten team, and I don't think there's going to be any L's in the audience there. Lot different team, but it's Wisconsin, right? I mean, Wisconsin's been great for years and years. So, I mean, a lot of the faces have changed from coaches to players. What can we expect from this Wisconsin team?
I think Xavier will win the ball game, but things are a little bit, there are going to be some roadblocks. We mentioned the 3 Big Ten officials. There also is a winter storm warning for the Madison area for Wednesday and Thursday. So this is not, this is typical Wisconsin. They manage the weather to make you feel uncomfortable when you go up there. But, they've made every NCAA tournament field since 1999. 19 straight years for the Badgers. And also, this is the first time since 2010 that they have not been rated in a preseason AP or coaches top 25. So this is a younger group of Wisconsin players. They have a chip on their shoulder, and you brought it up. They timed their foreign trip perfectly with a young group. They spent like most of the summer in Australia and New Zealand playing professional teams.
And that was planned perfectly. I don't know if they did it on purpose.
They did it on purpose.
I think you do this like 4 or 5 years ahead of time.
They did it on purpose.
But they were able to get all their recruits on campus. They played in Australia. They played like 10 games against professional teams. I mean, then
it was 5. Let's be
5.
accurate.
Well, I was going to give them 10. I mean,
I
was including practice on that.
I'm getting mad.
But it was definitely the best time for them to do this trip, get those guys acclimated to playing at a high level.
They went 4-1 too.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that Wisconsin lost 4 great players. These four guys, and we know Bronson Koenig stuck a dagger in St. Louis 2 years ago with those two long three-pointers. Bronson Koenig is gone. Nigel Hayes is gone. Zach Showalter, the guy who took the dive and drew the charge on Edmund Sumner to set up the Bronson Koenig dagger three at the buzzer, he's gone. And Vito Brown, who he has a background with the mafia in St. Louis, he's gone. He's out of there. So that's 4,800 points gone. They're younger. I mean, that's got to be that makes a difference.
Yeah, they lost 4 starters from last year, right? You said it, Bronson Koenig, also Nigel Hayes. They only have 3 players returning that played over 10 minutes, but one of those players, their best player, Ethan Happ.
You would have to bring up number 22,
Yeah,
Ethan Happ, probably the
good.
best big man in the Big Ten now that Schwanigan has gone on to the NBA.
I would say he's probably the best big man in the country
could
right
be the
now,
best big
aside
man.
from maybe the freshman right now. But as far as returning big men in the NCAA, I mean, I put Ethan Happ probably right there as number 1.
He's a very unique player. He's a hybrid, 6'10", 235. He looks a little awkward at times, but a great ball handler. He'll rip down a rebound. He'll wave the guard off and bring it up himself. Then he'll flip it out on the wing. He'll post up on the left. He has a left-hand spin move. He is a great he's used to double teams. He's seen all the defenses. He passes out of the double teams like nobody you've ever seen. And the only criticism of this guy, Ethan Happ, is that, first off, he's a bad free throw shooter, thank goodness. And secondly, he's unselfish. I think to beat Xavier with his inexperienced Wisconsin roster, he's going to have to drop 25 or 30.
I'd agree with that. I mean, he's got to have it's got to be like a 30-point, 20-rebound game for Wisconsin to stay in this. Last year as a freshman, he averaged a double-double. This year he's on to the same pace. So, I mean, super talented player. But as you said, Andy, I think Xavier, the overwhelming favorite in this game, even with it being on the road. You have any score predictions for tomorrow night, or are you just enjoying this one?
76-70 Xavier. I've got that in writing on my Musketeer Madness site. I mean, I'm a very conservative guy. I seldom make numerical predictions. But Ken Pomeroy, I love his site. I actually pay money. I'm a cheap son of a gun. I pay $20 a year to get access to his data basketball site. He has Wisconsin winning 74-71. Obviously, he has a Big Ten bias. He listens to Dickie Vitale. But I think Xavier wins this. Wisconsin has a lot of great talent, but it's young. They start 2 sophomore guards. The point guard, Trice, very, very good, but he's inexperienced. And Iverson, the small forward, he's a junior. This is his chance to make an impact. He dropped 17 against Yale, but that was against Yale. Those guys were all, taking their graduate record exams right before the game. So, I mean, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's a very unproven team. Xavier has proven talent, and I think that's going to be the difference in this early game. I really do. I think that's what it goes down to. Xavier has a senior in Trayvon Blewett, J.P. McCura. I mean, these guys have done it on the highest level at college basketball. I mean, that's going to be the difference tomorrow.
I think Tyreek Jones may get in immediate foul trouble. They'll have a couple of fouls called on him in the layup line and the warm-up with 3 Big Ten officials up there, unfortunately. So I think Sean O'Mara's got to step up and play somewhat akin to the Sean O'Mara we saw against Florida State and Maryland and Arizona. And we need Sean O'Mara. And he played decently against Ethan Happ 2 years ago in that game in St. Louis. He went shoulder to shoulder with Happ in that game. He's capable if O'Mara steps up. And by the way, Kareem Cantor had a great game against Wisconsin, playing for Wisconsin Green Bay last year in the Kohl Center. He had 18 points, 5 rebounds, hit 3 3-pointers. So maybe this is Kareem Cantor's chance to emerge and make a mark. He's been a bit of a passenger so far for Xavier, but he's well aware that this is his last shot at the Wisconsin Badgers, and I think he'd like to make an impact.
Nonetheless, Xavier, Wisconsin, Thursday night. I know all of us will be watching. A lot of excitement surrounding the teams in Cincinnati and Xavier, UC, right? But the Xavier team.
You said Xavier.
I said Xavier.
I
No, Andy, I said Xavier. And if
I
I did say
Xavier,
then I didn't mean it, I promise. I promise. But even though this Wisconsin team's not proven, still great to possibly get a win on the road against a Big Ten team, a team that's done it at a high level for a really long time. As for me and Andy Mack, kicking it old school with Andy Mack, we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Andy.